Hi, I'm Perry Atkinson, General Manager here at theDove. Hey, check out our other videos and check out our website at thedove.us. Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson. Well, today we're going to pause. We're going to pause. We're going to paw. Anyway, I am delighted to have with us Marion Wells. She's authored a book, really is fascinating, Dogs to the Rescue. And she's written several books about the role of animals in our lives, including the best-selling book, 4 Paws. And today we're going to talk about dogs and how they are inspiring and maybe even inspirational in many, many ways. And, well, first of all, Marion, I want you to know you're talking to a dog lover.
Oh, that's great. Perry, thank you so much for having me on your show.
Oh, delighted. We've had, let's see, numerous English Springer Spaniels in our lives, but recently, after losing our last one after 12 years, we bought a English setter. And she's the sweetest thing in the world. We're just loving her to death. She's really great.
Well, that's marvelous. I have 3 toy joys. They're about 7 to 7.5 pounds each. One's a Pomeranian, one's a Papillon mix, and the other's a Sheltie mix. Wow.
Well, ours is not quite the lap dog we're looking for, but when she hops up, the room goes dark. But anyway, well, this is really interesting. What inspired you to do this book?
Well, it's a wonderful story. It's Dogs to the Rescue, but in a sense, maybe God rescued me. I had actually co-written 5 previous titles, 3 about dogs, 2 about cats. They're devotional books, but I wasn't sure what God wanted me to do next, and I was praying. I had to be in Eugene, Oregon for other reasons, asked if I could visit my publisher for the first time. They made a whole day of it, including a meeting with the publishing committee, and they said, "What would you like to do next?" And I said, "I'm not sure. What do you think?" And we started kicking ideas around the table, and they came up with Dogs to the Rescue, and I immediately said, it's a metaphor for God to the rescue, and these stories really are.
Wow, this is terrific. So what can we learn from dogs?
All kinds of things, but what we can really learn, I've been blown away by the variety of ways that dogs rescue us. Everything from trained assistants or service dogs that help people with multiple sclerosis, blindness, hearing impairment, all sorts of situations. Seizures, there are seizure alert dogs, to dogs that are therapy dogs and help adults and children work through grief situations. They help children with special needs. There's one dog in the book, a golden retriever named Chancer, who is the first ever service dog for a child with fetal alcohol syndrome. And this family, because this child's brain and central nervous system were so damaged, and the child was adopted from another country, and they found out a couple of years later that something was wrong, and they would not interrupt the adoption. They felt strongly that this was their child, but he was so unpredictable, and they never knew for sure what he would do. And it was so much stress on the family that they were like threads that were fraying and coming apart. And the mom heard about a service dog that had helped a child with autism, persuaded the dad that they should try this. Then the first day that Chancer was with their family was the first day this child slept through the night. They woke up in the morning and thought, what's wrong? Ran to his room, and the dog was lying on top of him, and he was just peacefully asleep. And they described the dog as a new thread that had wound the rest of them into a better braid.
Wow, what a story. Boy, there's so many issues that dogs are involved in with people's lives. You know, Dogs for the Deaf headquarters here in Southern Oregon, and of course we see them in training a lot around here, and so thankful for what they do. But it's amazing how dogs are used in that capacity in all walks of life.
I have 2 stories about dogs in that capacity in my book. One is called A Hearing Dog Goes to College. And this is a little 5-pound Papillon who's the service dog to a delightful young lady named Jenny. Jenny began to lose her hearing very young, and she was from a family that they were a can-do family. They said, all you can't do is hear. She even played high school basketball. They developed hand signals, and if someone had to get her attention, the other girl would stomp on the floor, and Jenny would hear the vibration and look over and realize they wanted her attention. But after she'd been in college, she realized, what will happen after school? What happens if I have an apartment and my roommate's gone or my husband's gone? And she thought a service dog would be a good idea. And she got little Minnie Pearl from a wonderful organization called Four Paws for Ability. And after training, Minnie Pearl went to college with her. And she alerts to all kinds of different sounds. And Jenny has even been student teaching. She has been observing in a normal second grade classroom. And the dog goes to school with her and is able to alert in the car if there's an ambulance or something like that. She has extra mirrors, but the dog gives her a warning that's even sooner than that. And the first day there, she told the kids all about Minnie Pearl, and they got to pet her. And she said after that, they were fine with the dog, and they never asked to pet her again because they understood that when Minnie Pearl was at school, she was working just like they were working when they were at school.
Wow, what a great story. Well, tell us, what have you learned about dogs and how it relates to God's love and God's faithfulness?
There are so many facets about what dogs do that show us about God. For example, loyalty and perseverance. One of the stories in my book is called Duke's Doggy Daycare. And Dora, Duke's master, had multiple sclerosis. When she first began having symptoms, it was decades ago, they did not have the same diagnostics that they do now. She became suddenly paralyzed on one side of her body, and the doctors suspected multiple sclerosis, but they weren't sure. She went home. She had a young family. The dad had to work, and they weren't sure how they were going to cope. And their German Shepherd, Duke, who was not a trained service dog, stepped up, and he literally learned how to take his human potty. They would set her up on the daybed near the half bath downstairs. And if she felt nature's call and no one was around, she would tell Duke, Duke, potty time. And this dog would lay his head on the bed. She would grab onto his collar, and he would very slowly back up and pull her upright. And once she was upright, she could get her feet over the side of the bed and furniture walk using different supports to get in and out of the bathroom. And that dog never felt inconvenienced. He never said, how long is this going to go on? He was always there for her. And then later, when she was better and they were moving, they put the dog in a locked room just for his safety. When the movers were there, he was so desperate to get to her that he literally chewed the doorknob to a cone to get out and be with her.
Wow. That is amazing. You know, I've learned from dogs, they're extremely faithful, as you know, and they don't pretend, do they? They're just open, honest.
They are completely real and honest, but they're also loving and non-judgmental. You mentioned my earlier books. The first book we did, Four Paws from Heaven, Devotions for Dog Lovers. My co-author, Chris Young, wrote a story about Gracie, and one of his points was that he never looked at her like, oh, you ugly thing, when he first got up in the morning. He never saw the growth of beard. He never saw any of those negatives. He just loved her because he was her person, so she just loved him no matter what.
You know, we've also learned, Marion, that dogs and cats can really help people in recovery. They can help people with blood pressure. Just their loyalty and their love and their faithfulness helps us in so many ways.
And there's a great story about that in the book. It's called A Healing Paw in Loss. And Lori, the person in the story, was about to give birth. She and her husband lived in Boston. It was their first child. It was winter. They thought they wanted a dog. They thought, it's cold. We can't go anywhere. It's a great time to get a dog. And so they reserved a Siberian Husky puppy. And then Lori gave birth, and there was a tragedy at the birth. There was a C-section, the umbilical cord became knotted, and the baby's waist leaked into the amniotic fluid, and the baby developed pneumonia and died. And it was awful. And she was grieving this child. Her husband had to go back to work eventually, and she was all alone with an empty nursery and her tears. But then it was time to pick up the little puppy. And she almost didn't go through with it, but she got the puppy, and she realized the first day she had the puppy was the first day she hadn't cried. And just having that puppy helped her heal.
Well, the book is entitled Dogs to the Rescue, Inspirational Stories of Our Four-Footed Heroes. For those watching on theDove TV, you can see a picture of it on the screen. Check it out by M.R. Wells and Marion Wells. Let me encourage you to get a copy of this. It is very inspiring. And if you're not a dog lover, become one.
On Amazon.com, there's a look inside feature, and they can actually look inside the book and browse the table of contents and read some excerpts from some of the stories.
Hey, Marion, thanks for being with us today. Keep up the good work. What a delight. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, we'll be right back.